evening, Pats Nation, and welcome back to another edition here of the NE Patriots Talk channel. And today, we're gonna be finally discussing some defense. Thank goodness that we're done talking offense and we now finally get to talk some defense. As usual, you got the same regular suspects, but taking over for Austin today, we have our main man, Chris, taking over for him for today. How are we doing, Chris?
Good, fellas, good. Ready to talk some ball.
Let's go. How are the rest of you guys doing?
I'm doing good, man. Another day at work. I left early because of the rain. The rain. It just, when you're working in retail, customers just go down and it's like, there's not much going on. So I left a little bit early. Took the liberty to actually eat before going live, which is nice. And then obviously finish doing up the data. Too bad Austin couldn't join us tonight. He had some technical things going on, but welcome aboard, Chris. We're happy to have you. And I'm going to throw it off to Moonshine. How you doing today, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. I've been doing a good bit of yard work earlier today, having to get some dirt for the backyard to kind of get the yard leveled and fixing up my mailbox. But other than that, it's been a pretty chill day. Ready to talk some ball, ready to get a roll on these stats and get a feel of how this defense is going to be for the 2025 season.
Honestly, running a bunch of these numbers, I think I left a few key stats out. I mean, we could talk about like quarterback hits and things, which would require me obviously to go back into PFF. But I think it's going to be really interesting talking about these guys. I mean, we've spitballed about the Jelani Tavais of the world and the Christian Ellis's of the world. And now that we got some data in front of us, it's going to be really interesting to talk about, who stays, who goes, under the radar guys. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it's nice seeing all of you guys here. And remember, guys, as you come in to the chat, make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. Please like this stream if you haven't already, and turn on these notifications if you haven't already, so you won't miss out on a future live stream when we go live. And as usual, please post in your questions and your comments as always, so we can at least bring in the discussions on this defense. So today we're going to be docking some defensive linemen, which includes defensive tackles and edge rushers. And then we're going to conclude with some linebackers. So without further ado, let's get it started. And let's start with the defensive front. So, guys, it's finally 2025, and we know that Christian Barmore is going to be back in the grind of things. So, I'll start with you, Andy. How do you feel about Christian Barmore being back healthy and than ever?
I am psyched. I am 3 words about seeing Christian Barmore back on this defensive line, and they are psyched, and oh yeah, did I forget? Psyched. This guy, he is still a liability, but if you pull up if you could go to his sacks, Dow.
I think we see a 6.
Yeah, he had in 2023, he had 8.5 sacks. The Pats all told in 2024 had 28. That is just past a full quarter of the total sacks the Pats had in 2024. Christian Barmore had in 2023. That's one guy had a quarter of their 2024 sacks. So this guy back on the defensive line, and if you look at his overall pressures, or his tackles. Look at his overall tackles. Which column is that again?
Where is this the right one?
It's I. It's I.
It's I. All right. Tackles. Yeah. So yeah, it's 64 in 2023. So this guy in 64, 46, his freshman season. This guy is a this guy is a tackle machine. And him with Mike Vrabel as his head coach and Milton Williams as a teammate. I mean, yeah, there is that injury and there is that health liability there, but Barmore is back, Pats Nation. Make no mistake. I mean, this guy is ready to rock and roll and bring on the 2025 NFL season.
How about you, Dustin?
Yeah, it's pretty much how Andy had just described it. This dude's a force to be reckoned with. He's going to be going along with like Milton Williams and Farmer. It's going to be a loaded front. It's going to be a loaded like front on that defensive line. His health, yes, it is a bit concerning. I'm a little bit. I'm not going to say concerned, but I am curious to see how he's going to come back from this, from like the blood clots and all, because he was out for a while. He hadn't had much time to practice or really play at all. So seeing him come back from that and getting back into the whole things, I'm definitely going to be curious about, especially going into like the training camp. But if he can continue to strive off his the 2023 season where he had that 8.5 sacks and all those tackles that he had, what was it? 64. He'll be a force. I mean, this front seven in general is going to be a force, but Barmore is going to be somebody that the defensive coordinators on opposing teams are going to have to watch out for. I mean, you can't ignore him. Yeah, he's been out for close to a year, but you can't ignore the what's the word? I can't think of it. You can't, his utilization, like you can't ignore that.
Interesting. How about you, Chris?
I think I'll tell you who I'm excited to see is Robert Spillane. Robert Spillane and Anthony Jennings. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's fine. As before I can let Chris continue, I would say about Christian Barmore being back. I'm excited to see Barmore back, considering that he's all cleared for football activity, and just like as you alluded to, Andy, with his his impressive season where he had 8.5 sacks when so many of our key players went down due to season-ending injuries, when we lost Christian Gonzalez and we lost Matthew Judon. There were so many injuries on this team, and we all feared that Christian Barmore would be a bust after his performance during his first two seasons. But when it came to like the 2023 season, he at least stepped up and proved why he's this threat. And I gotta say, guys, Christian Barmore, he's being healthy, he's gonna be a force reckoned with. And even though he did suffer those block clots and played a little to none in the in the 2024 season, at least he had 1 sack. So at least him being healthy, that's actually going to be great. But Chris, continue with your take on what you said earlier.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I apologize. Yeah, I said I was really excited to see Robert Spillane and Anthony Jennings, also Keon White and Jack Gibbons. You really got to like put into perspective the real depth that we have now to go along with Chason and Swinson. I feel that just the overall depth, as including the starters, are just massively improved in my eyes. We have way more depth. We have starters that I feel are more capable of, impacting a game.
Oh, exactly. So since you mentioned depth, what are your thoughts on the depth overall? Because in my opinion, I think the depth for all these defensive positions compared to last year, it feels a whole lot different and with better talent. So I'll start with you, Andy. What are your thoughts on the depth on all defensive positions?
Yeah, my thought, I was just thinking about all of the guys on this list, not just the defensive linemen, not just the linebackers. Pardon me. And I think, there's upgrades at all of the positions on this list. I mean, like Chris just said, we signed Spillane from Vegas and we got Harold Landry here I mean, he's a Vrabel guy.
Christian Ellis.
Christian Ellis. We got Christian Ellis, who was the guy from the Titans. Not Spillane was from the Raiders.
Gibbons.
There was Landry Gibbons. Thank you. And two people are still calling him the steals of the draft, and Josh Farmer and Braden Swinson. I mean, those guys are. I just ran the numbers for Josh Farmer. If you could go to him, Dow, for me for a second.
Don't mind if I
He's
do.
at the bottom of the list. And his tackles, his tackle, shoot. Oh, right there. Yeah. He went from 36 to 71. His tackle number nearly doubled from 2021 to 2020, for 2022 to 2023. And then he tacked on one tackle in 2024. That guy just went on the up and up and up. And I'm looking at his overall grade on PFF2 right now. Yeah, he is. Not a lot of folks are talking about Josh Farmer right now on that D-line, but it's obviously the talk is of Barmore and Williams being a top 3 to 5 IDL duo in the NFL. You got to throw Joshua Farmer in there too, man. I mean, this is going to be. They talked about the LA Rams defensive line last year with oh gosh.
Yeah,
I'm
Turner.
With Turner, Jared Verse,
and Braden Fisk.
Fisk, thank you, Dow. I brain bleed, brain fart, whatever you want to call it. You know, when you work with dirt.
How about you, Dustin? What are your thoughts on the depth?
I think there's going to be people fighting for depth positions. Like, I think there's going to be people fighting for backup spots. Our starters, for the most part, are pretty solidified, at least in my opinion. But there's like competition all around the field. There's going to be people competing for those like backup roles. Probably even some that are going to be trying to squeeze in on that practice squad roles. We've gotten so much more talent. Not even just in one position, not just on defense, not just on offense, all around. It's such a different team. I love talking about the fact of having people that are like competing to be backups instead of people that are competing to be starters. Because hearing that you're competing to be a backup means you got quality starters that are ready to play come week 1 once we get into the regular season. So just to see all the talent that we brought in that are coming to camp, that are actually participating, that are helping the young guys, and the young guys that are feeding off that energy and trying to perform as best they can and learning the system. I'm excited. I'm excited to see training camp get here, preseason get here. I'm ready to see what these guys have on pads, full on contact. I'm ready for it. I'm excited.
So yeah, I'm just gonna finish up my point here. Like everybody was talking about that young Ram D line last year. Our D line our IDL isn't as young as those guys, but you know, although Farmer is a rookie, Barmore will be. I can't believe this. You know, soon to be essentially a 5th-year guy, although really a 4th-year guy. He's not that old. So yeah, I think this D line is going to be under Mike Vrabel and Terrell Williams. Watch out for this D line. Watch out for this New England Patriots defensive line.
How about you, Chris? What are your thoughts on the depth on overall?
Yeah, so as far as the depth, we have a lot of guys. So I'm looking at the depth chart now, and to kind of piggyback off of what he was saying with the being excited when you got dudes fighting for backup spots. I mean, we got Alex Austin, we got Kobe Minor, we have Marcellus Dial, we have Isaiah Bolden, Craig Woodson. So when you really have that kind of depth between the safeties and secondaries, I feel it's extremely beneficial, because now if a guy goes down, we have another guy that we can throw out there, and whatever kind of situation we're in.
Hold on, you're talking secondary there, buddy.
Yeah, I was talking about secondary, but
yeah, I just asked him about overall, as in like depth.
Oh, okay. I focused on the D line, but yeah, Chris, go on, man.
Yeah. As far as the D line, like in particular, Joshua Farmer and Keon White, Jack Gibbons, those are all guys that I feel are going to be extremely beneficial to our defense. Obviously, Christian Ellis. So it's a lot of new faces for sure, but I feel that they're going to be welcomed because it's just going to help out our depth. It's going to help out our starters. It's going to be extremely beneficial, I feel. We also have a lot of people that are extremely good against the run now that I wanted to also mention, because that is a big hitting point, because we were getting absolutely mauled last year in the run.
Yeah, exactly. I just also think another huge upgrade besides the depth overall is the coaching staff for the defense, because we can all agree that Covington as our defensive coordinator last year, it was miserable to watch as Pats fans, and we can see that the transitioning from DeMarcus Covington to Terrell Williams, but currently it's Zach Kerr as the acting defensive coordinator, because we all know Terrell Williams, he's still recovering from that health scare that he had earlier. So I just feel like the defensive coaching staff overall has been a huge upgrade, along with the depth overall. What are your thoughts on the defensive coaching staff, Andy?
Yeah, this defensive coaching staff, as you just alluded to, Dow, I can say probably pretty much all four of us wanted DeMarcus Covington gone from like the third or fourth game. He was just an absolute disaster. He lost us. Defensive blunders lost us 5 games on the season last year or something like that. Absolutely crazy. When you have a competent defensive staff, a defensive-minded head coach in Mike Vrabel, you had a defensive-minded head coach in Gerard Mayo last year. We know how he worked out. But bringing in Terrell Williams, I believe, from the Lions. Where did Terrell?
Yeah,
Williams
he played.
come?
Yeah, he played for the Lions. No, he coached for the Lions.
Okay, cool. And who's our linebackers coach? I'm brain farting on our linebackers coach.
I think it's Zach Kerr, but then there's
Zach Kerr, yeah,
and Mike
Zach Kerr. And then
and then Mike Smith as our outside linebackers coach.
And the defensive line coach.
That's dang it, I forgot his name too. It's
Clint McMillan. Clint McMillan. Yeah, I don't know much about Clint McMillan. If I look at it here, Terrell Williams, Zach Kerr, Scott Booker on safeties, Justin Hamilton on cornerbacks. Those are good hires. Clint McMillan, Vinny DePalma, defensive assistant, Kevin Richardson. So yeah, some of these guys, I think will really, help get our defense back on track. I just looked it up. We were bottom 10. We were 10th worst in both pass and run defense last year. I don't think we ever ranked. We never ranked that badly in both those categories under Bill Belichick. That is one thing I can say for Bill Belichick. We were pretty much always in the top half of the league on defense under him, with and without Brady. But yeah, that's a plethora of new guys to the Patriots. A lot of them are NFL veterans, but they're new guys to the Patriots, and whom Vrabel is bringing in, because a lot of them have worked under him before. So yeah, and it's just another thing to watch during the summer. How these guys get coached up, and just to piggyback off of the defensive line, I do like the spruce ups we've done, especially at cornerback, bringing in Carlton Davis, keeping Marcellus Style, keeping Christian Ellis, wait, who am I trying to kid? No, Alex Austin. Christian Ellis is a linebacker. My bad. Yeah, Craig Woodson is. I was not a fan. The safety out of Cal, I was not a fan of that pick originally, as you might know. But I messaged you this the other day. He was a top 100 per Daniel Jeremiah, whereas a lot of people had him ranked as a 5th or 6th round pick. Jeremiah had him ranked as a late 3rd round pick. So this kid, and John threw down some vid the other day. That kid's going to be the real deal. I'm sorry, I just went off on a tangent a little bit, but yes, I am, in general psyched about this defense, and yes, how the staff with the guys will bear and warrant watch.
How about you, Dustin? Thoughts on the defensive coaching staff?
I've got a list pulled up here that I found that I'm looking for, like some of the names for our whole defensive staff, like our lineman coach, our linebackers for both inside, outside, corner, all that stuff. A lot of these guys that I've searched so far, outside of one, I think is our cornerbacks coach, Justin Hamilton, who came from the Colts, I believe. Most of these guys are coming from Tennessee. So I'm seeing a lot of guys that have familiarity with Mike Vrabel, that know how he operates, that knows what he expects. I mean, not only with just Terrell Williams. I mean, there's Clint McMillan, Zach Kerr, Scott Booker. I'm seeing a lot of guys that have come from Tennessee. So even with Terrell Williams not being able to be there, I know for a fact he's not only communicating with Mike Vrabel and the defensive players, but these coaches as well that he's probably worked with in the past, that he's communicating with them on what they need to do, on how they need to get these guys ready and whatnot. And I'm sure they're I'm sure they're getting him up to speed on how things are going. I think one of those guys that I even said are taking over. I don't remember who it was that were taking over duties for Terrell Williams right now, actually, to be honest. But yeah, it's just like we're getting a lot of the guys that he's familiar with, that Vrabel knows, and people that have been successful at their said positions. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what this coaching staff will do come as far as the defense is concerned come the 2025 season when week 1 starts. Dal, you're not. We can't hear you.
Wait. How about you, Chris? Sorry, I was muted for a bit.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Pretty sure we touched all the bases on everybody that the defensive coaching staff. I don't really have too much more to add, except like he said, we having a lot of familiar faces with Vrabel. Even I believe Ryan Cowden also came from Tennessee, didn't he?
Yeah, I did.
Cowden 100% came from Tennessee, yes. And in the chat, when it's like, okay, Elliot Wolf is gonna, really be running the show again. I'm like, no, I've heard it repeatedly that Vrabel is gonna put Cowden in charge of running that show. And lo and behold, it's not that Wolf had nothing to do with those draft picks, but it really was. It was Vrabel and Ryan Cowden making the final call.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just like to add, Chris, to the conversation at all, or are you ready to move it on?
Yeah, we could probably move on.
Yeah, as you're alluding to, Andy, I said that the fact that Cowden was running the show, I just feel like with bringing along Cowden is to pair with Elliot Wolf, it just feels a lot more refreshing because you just get rid of all what Bill Belichick had, and you're bringing Mike Vrabel's bringing his own guys in general. I know we're getting off. Wait, go ahead.
Exactly. We're truly cleaning house, which we did not bother to do last year. I mean, all of those guys, I mean, Mayo, Steve Belichick, I believe even Covington was a Belichick holdover. It was just like there was no deep clean last year. There was really no clean
100%.
It was all just carryovers from that Belichick regime.
Former players being coaches.
Look what they did. I mean, basically no signings in free agency. possibly the only guy we hit on in that draft was Drake May. I mean, we'll see what happens with Jaheim Bell, but it was just pretty much everything about last year is beyond forgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Baker and Polk also forgettable.
Please get rid of them. We can discuss that next week for a mandatory minicamp. But let's head over to let's start with the defensive lineman. There were some key players that I really wanted to get into. As you alluded to, Chris, you mentioned you're hyped about Keion White. Why are you hyped on Keion White and what he can bring in under a brand new defensive coaching staff?
So, if I'm not mistaken, it was Keion White that had those first couple of games. He was producing sacks at a pretty good rate, right? But then he got injured, didn't he? Keion White did.
I don't think so. I think that was Matthew Judon the year prior, but I think Keion White, he just fell off the planet when people.
It wasn't so much that he fell off the planet. It's the fact that he was like their main pass rush. When Barmore had went down for those blood clots, it was Keion White was like our main source of pass rush. So when it was up to him and just him for the most part, he was commanding double teams and he couldn't get home.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anything else, Chris?
Yeah, I was just gonna pitch in. Yeah, I think it was John again who posted an article in the Discord earlier. There was way too much of a workload placed on Keion White last year. Mayo and Covington were giving him way too much work, and he basically at the end of it was like, I don't want this. It's not that I'm lazy, but you can't have me just double teaming. There's
not everybody can be an X factor. Not everybody can be an X factor.
Exactly.
I'm sure it was frustrating for a young player too to be constantly doubled.
There's only one of me, and I mean he was only 23 on last season. Keion White is still young. So putting a guy with 2 years of NFL experience, through that ringer is just entirely uncalled for. And Keion White has been misused by the Pats essentially since we drafted him. I mean, we tried him at linebacker. I think we might have even tried him at. Did we try him at corner once? I don't remember. But
I don't think so, and I doubt that.
If they did, I would be.
That was just in a very, very bad dream. But yeah, I mean, Keion White has been either underutilized or misutilized since we drafted him, and hopefully that does change under Vrabel, and he is definitely one of the guys I'm excited about.
Absolutely, he's still young. He still has so much room for improvement.
Yeah, how about you, Dustin?
Not to mention, as I was getting to, it's not going to be just up to him now. It's not going to be just up to him. He's got so many other quality people around him. I mean, you got Robert Spillane, got Harold Landry, Christian Barmore should be coming back. You got Joshua Barmore, you got Milton Williams.
Barmore will be coming back, but yeah, I actually misspoke. He was a rookie in 2023, so it wasn't 2 years of NFL experience. It was one.
Yeah, that is true.
And,
that is true.
And here, Mayo and Covington putting him through an entirely unnecessary ring. You can't expect that guy to be double teaming,
And that's where Keion White is going to succeed this year. I really think he has a chance to have a major breakout because there's going to be other people in the defense that's going to have to pay attention to. It's going to open up some windows for Keion White to finally have that season where he can finally build up his confidence, get his game back, and just play it at the best of his ability, which I believe his best of his ability is just getting at the quarterback. He is a pass rush specialist, at least that's the way I see him. I guess either interior or exterior, whether it be like the inside or the edge, meaning I feel like he's going to get a breakout this season. I feel like he has a real shot with having a couple years already under his belt, having people like Mike Vrabel and the other coaches on the defense, just having the talent all around him to encourage him if he's messing up or if he's not getting what he wants. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he can bring now that he's got talent around him.
Yeah, I just felt like with Keion White last year, I thought that we all thought that Matthew Judon would be the starting edge rusher and paired up with Keon White, and along with Josh Uche. But because of front office mismanaging their players, like not giving Judon like the extension that he needed, even though he did come off of a season-ending injury against the Dallas Cowboys, I just felt like Matthew Judon, I thought we would at least extend him to like at least 1 or 2 years, so at least mentor and be around Keon White for a full season. But I felt like they did him dirty, and then Josh Uche didn't do much for him either. So that I just felt bad for Keon White, just because we had the front office and the coaching staff in general. It was basically there was no veteran leadership. There was no veteran presence around on everything. We all thought that people thought that the Patriots would be like the next Green Bay Packers, and there is no way we're like the next Green Bay Packers just because. Yeah, Elliot Wolf was the son of Ron Wolf just because, but that's not with the Patriots. And I just felt like now with Keon White, with better coaching staff, with some veteran presence, better players that at least with better talent and with veteran experience, I think Keon White would thrive under a new defensive scheme. But speaking of talent around him, before what was it, tampering started, I felt like I didn't think we would start free agency by bringing in Harold Landry, but I'll ask you, Andy, what were your thoughts on signing Harold Landry before the tampering?
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised by that signing. If you can go up to Harold Landry, I believe he's the first guy on this list. He's the 5th. Okay. But if you go to his sacks, let's just say.
Yeah.
Am I really looking at that? He had, those are his sack numbers: 5.5, 12, 10.5, and 9.
Yep.
Is he that much of a sack machine? Look, what's column M? I can't believe I don't know this.
I don't. Oh, I think is it this? Let me just double check.
What are you looking for?
Sacks.
Column M. Yeah, so those numbers are right. I mean, he had 9 sacks on last season. Again, a third of the entire sacks of the New England Patriots, Harold Landry had on a very poor Titans team. So I was very pleasantly surprised when we brought him in before legal tampering. I said, this is going to be a big offseason. We're going to be bringing in a lot of guys. They might not be huge name guys, but they will be bodies on the defensive line. There'll be bodies in not so much on the offensive line. We didn't sign those, but in fact, the bulk of our free agent signings were defense. But yes, I thought that Harold Landry signing meant Vrabel meant business, Cowden meant business, and something big. A few days later, we land Milton Williams. That was the really exciting one. But yes, I think Harold Landry kickstarted what was an unexpectedly good free agency period for New England.
I have somebody I would like you guys' opinion on is Anthony Jennings. What are you guys' expectations on him? Because people forget that this guy's a 3rd-round pick going into his 5th year out of Alabama.
Let me just take a look at his stats again with Anthony Jennings. I don't think he did do much.
No, he didn't.
But, we gave him that contract. Yeah, his stats may have looked better, but I just felt like he's more of depth in general, because
like a rotational piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've got Robert Spillane, you've got Harold Landry, you've got Jack Gibbons, you've got Caleb Von Chason. Jennings could well be one of those guys now on the outside looking in. He is going into his into his 5th year as a Patriot. He had 2.5 sacks on last season. He's not, was that 78 tackles? He's not a bad player by any stretch. But, if you look at the stats of a lot of these other guys, including ones that I didn't put on here, you're just like, okay. And people are talking about Chason. People are talking about, obviously, Gibbons and Landry and Spillane. Jennings is...
That's kind of why I brought him up. I
What's
feel
up?
like I said that's why I kind of brought him up, because I feel like with all the new people showing up, like, he just kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Like, you forget about him rather quickly.
Yeah, you do. And Cam Riley, whom I believe was a UDFA, he's I mean,
like,
yeah,
depth
I put up
piece, or?
Yeah.
Cam Riley wasn't. He was a UDFA.
He was a UDFA. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, yeah, he could just be one of those guys who's just either he or Jennings could just like be kept on the team as an extra body in case one of the top dogs goes down.
Yeah, I just see him being more of a rotational piece at this point at best. I mean, he's shown us, unfortunately, he's just not a starter. He's not the kind of player you'd put out there to be playing for a majority of snaps. Maybe I'm not really sure. I'm not sure what his strength is, to be honest, either, other than maybe tackling. I mean, his sacks is low. What is his grades? His PR grade, his runs grade.
His highest was a 66.9. Yeah,
it's not anything that really jumps out at you. I mean, he at best he's maybe a rotational piece. I mean, I don't know. I think he's on the outside looking in, to be honest.
I mean, Monty...
He might have a role as a rotational piece, but I just don't see it.
Monty Rice, whom we brought over from the Titans, a Vrabel guy, threw down a 69.4 overall rating in 2023, which is a slight edge over Anthony Jennings' best season. So, yeah, he's... Oh, boy. Yeah, that's definitely an outside-looking-in guy on paper. No connection to Vrabel here. He's a veteran with no connection to Vrabel. And we know how they fared so far. David Andrews, see you later.
Joe Cardona, see you later.
Cardona, exactly.
Jawan Bentley, see you later.
Bingo. Yes. Thank you, Dow. So who knows? Is Sanford Jennings next? Is Jelani Tavai next?
I hope so.
We don't know. And it is not an excruciating waiting game the way it's been the past couple of seasons. It's a fun waiting game. So let me know your guys' thought.
Before I ask Dustin about Harold Landry to continue with the discussion, about Anthony Jennings. After his 2023 campaign, I just felt like that he's more like depth. And considering that he didn't do much in 2021 during his second year because he obviously went into IR, basically this was more of a Belichick pick. And I just felt like after the 2023 season, he would have been off to free agency, because what has he done to show that he is worthy of a 3rd round pick? And then when it came to like that extension for 3 years and $12 million, I think he's not worthy of getting that contract. Like, if I try to take a look at Anthony Jennings cap space, I would find like his debt. So he has like a dead cap value of $3.35 million, while he has a cap hit of $5 million. I could take the dead cap while still earning that cap hit for if we were to cut or like trade away Anthony Jennings, just because he hasn't produced much during his time in New England. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think we should like cut or trade or find a trade partner for Anthony Jennings?
Cut. There's no, you're not trading him. You're not trading him. There's
Why not, Dustin?
I don't see anybody. I don't see you really getting any real value out of him unless you add a trade pick to it. I don't see you getting much of a value from him.
$12 million is not a lot of money. I'm looking at it right now. It's a $3 million signing bonus, 5.5 guaranteed.
Wait, what was it? What was his
Here's
cap hit if he got traded?
So basically, let me see if he was cut post. Actually, I lied. So if we were to cut him now, we would take the $200 million hit, and we would at least save $2 million. But if we were to,
you said 200?
No, I mean $2 million. Excuse me. But if we were to cut him next year, it would be $4 million. So if we were to trade him. Oh, okay, I would cut him because
because his average annual salary is $4 million. Yeah. You're right. Cut him.
Yeah,
I just don't even see you getting any value out of him. I mean,
exactly.
It's a small hit. Just take the small hit and just be done with it. I mean, maybe he'll show out at training camp. Maybe they want to see what he's got, but I don't see it. He's a rotational piece at very best. I'd say just cut him.
Yeah, he's more of like a practice squad guy, or even worse of more of a practice squad guy. But I want to ask you, Dustin, continue with the conversation about Harold Landry. What are your thoughts on bringing in Harold Landry?
I didn't really know much about him when we first signed him. I was expecting. Actually, to be honest, I wasn't expecting a whole lot of free agency just because of like our history. I knew with Mike Vrabel it would be different, but I wasn't sure where we would go. To see Harold Landry and seeing what he's brought to Tennessee for his 5-year career.
I think 6.
I think this would be a 6th year, I believe. I think he's been played for 5 years, and this will be a 6th. If I'm reading the chart right, at least.
I think he was drafted 2018. He played until 2024. So I would say 6 because because 2022 he was injured.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. I mean, he's definitely that guy that is going to lead a pass rush room from what I'm seeing, like grade wise and just the sacks that he's got. And he's definitely a pass rush specialist. I can see him being up there disrupting a pass blocking assignment, maybe him slipping through a crack or something and getting a hit on the quarterback. I see him. If he shows out and he actually performs and the team loves him, which I would honestly find hard to believe that they wouldn't, potential possibly team captain maybe. But I mean, he's got a lot to bring as far as into the pass rush. He's definitely something. It's refreshing to see that we have a lot of guys that can pass rush and run defend. I like what I'm seeing. His availability, games played, 2020, 16, 2021, 17. Yeah, he had the energy in 2022, but then 23 to 24, he played in 17 games. A majority of the time, he started in all games every season. So his availability for the most part is pretty good. I love what I'm seeing from him, and I'm really excited to see what he brings to New England. As far as from what I'm seeing, he's going to be the pass rush guy.
How about you, Chris?
I'm looking at his stats right here, and it says he had 12 sacks in 21. 12 sacks in 21, 10 and a half in 23, and then 9 last season. So exactly what the doctor ordered, in my opinion.
Yes.
Interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Really excited to see what he can bring for sure.
Yeah, I didn't expect we would get Harold Landry because if I was not mistaken, if I look at his contract earlier, he got like a I think it was in 2020. Let me find where it says. Oh, in 2022, he signed to like a 5-year, $87.5 million extension, and I thought he wouldn't be like he would like be a free agent until like 2027. But the fact that he was released by the Titans because it was reported that the Titans couldn't find a trade partner to trade away to Harold Landry. I was shocked that we got Harold Landry, considering who was on the Titans defensive line besides Jeffrey Simmons. I couldn't find anyone else besides Jeffrey Simmons.
Exactly.
Because
and how much was that again? You said 84 million?
$87.5 million.
Yikes.
And the fact that we gave him so that's if I could do the math, that's about 17 around 18 to 17 million dollars per season. But since we gave him less than that, which is around $14 million, if I could do the math, that's a little better considering that he's up in age. I can understand that he was the leading sack machine for the Titans next to Jeffrey Simmons, because I think he was the number one edge rusher for the Titans, if I'm not mistaken. And the fact that we got him just for a veteran leadership, and veteran presence, excuse me, and the fact that we have some young blood under to be a mentor for him, I think this is actually going to be great. Because Harold Landry won't get the bulk, so that would give opportunity for the young blood. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what Harold Landry can do. And let's move on to the next free agent that we also signed, and it's a big free agent, and that is Milton Williams, who we all thought that he would be with the Carolina Panthers, but thankfully we pried Milton Williams away from the Carolina Panthers. So, what are your thoughts on him, Andy?
Milton Williams, bring it on. He had he's obviously coming off of the Eagles, coming off that Super Bowl victory. He had, I don't think he had any picks, but he had at least one sack on Pat Mahomes, maybe two, if you guys can double check that for me. I tried to find his postseason stats. Unfortunately,
even though Wikipedia is inaccurate, I think that he had one or two sacks. I think one of them on Patrick Mahomes.
He had 2 sacks, and I'm pretty sure it was him that did the forced fumble, wasn't it? He hit his arm when he was throwing.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I believe so. Yeah, he only had 5 sacks on the regular season last year, but yeah, he was I think Josh Sweat was the real defensive brute in that Super Bowl, but Milton Williams,
it was a lot of Josh Sweat, but I think that
Williams was no pushover.
Mm-hmm. Especially with him and paired with Jalen Carter. He was a beast with Jalen Carter.
Carter and Sweat. Yeah, absolutely 100%. And now he's paired with Christian Barmore and potentially Joshua Farmer. That D-line is...
It's going to be a lot different.
It's going to be a lot different and a lot better, too.
How about you, Dustin?
I think with Milton Williams, it's a whole new refreshing light to this whole front seven. A lot of these guys, I feel like they just complement each other so well. I'm loving what this front office has done this year. Ferguson team, just so many guys that can complement each other. But as far as Milton Williams, he's going to be the guy that commands attention. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to be getting double teamed. That's going to be getting all the attention on that defensive on that from the offensive line. Just trying to keep him away. Yeah, he didn't get many sacks for the regular season, but you also got to figure the people that was around him too, with not Jalen Carter and forgetting all the names already. I just had them in my head, but they have a loaded front four. Not even mentioning the front seven.
Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, and Milton Williams.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
No worries. Zach Bond. Oh no, he's a cornerback.
They also had what's left of Brandon Graham.
Oh, correct. Yeah. Correct. Brandon Graham. Yep.
They got a guy that's gonna command attention, and I think he could potentially have a really good season with the Patriots. He's gonna be a starter. He's gonna be a guy that's gonna be on that line quite a bit. And I don't think he was a starter for Philly, if I remember correctly. He could have been, he could not have been, but I don't remember for sure. But
he played in 17 games. He only started 2. Actually, no. He started 7 in 2024.
Yeah. They just had so many bodies. He
was never a full-time starter. Yeah, his highest number of starts was 10.
I believe with New England and Mike Vrabel and this coaching staff, all these guys being able to complement each other, I think Milton Williams is going to have a really good season compared to somebody I think him Harold Landry and Keon White are going to be like the guys as far as pass rush. I think they are going to leave their mark on every quarterback they go against. They're going to have offensive linemen sweat. But I'm excited. I was surprised that we were able to pry him from Carolina. I'm guessing if I remember correctly, they just weren't offering the money that the Patriots were willing to offer him. Which, I mean, figures Patriots had the most money going into the 2025 offseason.
The Panthers were apparently this close to signing Milton Williams.
Yeah,
they had him. They had him.
Yeah, they did. And then the
Vrabel
Patriots
is like, okay,
up.
I'll give you $1 million more. Like $1 million more bucks came right in and stole him. Really, I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I remember reading about it too. It was just like, oh wow, okay, all right. Vrabel's really swinging the bat. Let's go. It just I'm excited. He's going to be a force on that line. He's going to demand attention and a lot of our other guys in our pass rush are going to be able to get home because of it. He is good. I do believe he's going to be well worth every single penny that we are giving him. I believe that he is going to be a force on that line.
How about you, Chris?
So I think the thing to keep in mind with Milton Williams is that the Patriots did give him the biggest contract the Patriots had ever handed out. If I'm not mistaken, it was
they did
$1 million to $2 million Brady. So that's a big deal, obviously. And 6'3", 290, going into he was drafted in 21. So average annual value of 26 million, 26 years old. I think it was money well spent. If you ask me personally, he's going to come in instantly and help us against the run, help us get interior pass rush. And yeah, man, really excited. That's just something that's always in the back of my head with Milton Williams is the fact that we gave him more money than we've ever given anyone. So I think that speaks volumes, and super excited to what he can do with Christian.
Yeah, it surprised me that we never even gave that money. We never gave that kind of money to Brady.
Right.
Or, any of our offensive or defensive stars during the dynasty, not even close.
I feel like that was a lot of Belichick, in my opinion. But
Belichick was you hear and notice how you're not hearing it said that Kraft's a cheapskate so much anymore. I have this in the back of my head that whenever I said Belichick was a cheapskate, people were like, no, it's Kraft. I'm like, no, it's Belichick. Just you wait. And it's so far, we'll have to wait see how this season plays out. But so far, I've been proven right. Got to toot my own horn there.
Oh no, you've definitely been proven right. I mean, it was always Belichick. Kraft wanted to spend the money, and Belichick would advise him like, no, we don't need to spend that much.
It's like I wanted to hammer home to these people. It's like, no, if you really think Kraft is the problem, he wanted to keep Brady. He wanted to keep Brady, and Belichick poked him in the eye. Said he's too old.
Belichick was the one who was wanting to trade him when they had Garoppolo.
Oh yeah, Belichick.
Yeah, I remember that.
Belichick wanted to trade him.
Belichick would have dumped Brady
because it was supposed to be Brady to the 49ers, and then
6 years before he
overrided him and said no, trade Garoppolo, we're keeping Brady, and they traded Garoppolo.
And that's why a red flags with Belichick started popping up for a lot of Pats fans before they did for me, and it started in 2014, I believe, when Garoppolo was drafted. It was either 13 or it was 14.
It was 14.
Yeah, where he was like, oh boy, it's like, and there was talk of trading Brady in 14 or 15. I'm like, come on, really?
I gotta say, compared to 2024, I'm just gonna use 2021 and 2024 as a comparison. I just felt like 2021, where it's funny how we had this inconsistency in free agency. I just felt like 2021 was interesting because I just felt like Belichick overpaid free agents with the exception of Matt Judon, because I felt like Matt Judon had a bigger contract out of all the other free agents that we signed. Like we had Aguilar, Mills, Henry, Bourne. We brought back Van Noy.
I don't think it was so much like free agents, he overpaid, undervalued, or not undervalued. He overpaid for players that were
They did
weren't worth the money at that time, and were proven that weren't worth the money.
And now with Vrabel, he's paying players, even though some of them could be like overpaid, but not really. It's a little bit, but they're all reasonable contracts. And another player that got a reasonable contract is Robert Spillane. And I'll start with you, Chris, since you were hyped about Robert Spillane. So I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Robert Spillane, man?
Super excited to see what Robert Spillane could do. I'm pretty sure it was him that ranks really, really high in PFF. I believe it was since 2021. I believe he was in the 90s. So, I mean, the dude's a freak. He's just all over the field, making tackles, making plays. He's also really good against, well, maybe not really good, but he's, how can I say, proficient against the pass. So something that I'm really looking forward to. And I got a friend that's a Raiders fan, and he was really upset when he found out that we took Spillane. So,
yeah, I heard of. No, it wasn't Titan fan. You're right. It was Raider fans, and your friend's not the only one. I read about several of them who were very upset when Vrabel poached Spillane. They wanted to keep him out there.
That was like Crosby's buddy, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So. Exact. Yep.
So I was super excited about that, man. Just the overall defense, man, including Spillane, everything is just. I'm so excited, bro. It's a new era for sure.
How about you, Andy?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Yeah, I'm very excited about the Spillane signing. I mean, like you guys said, and I saw the same thing. Raider fans were not pleased when Vrabel signed him. They wanted to keep him on the outside of their defensive line along with Max Crosby. Obviously, he's now a Patriot, where he'll probably be paired up with the Keon Whites and Christian Ellis's of the world. But yeah, I'm really excited to see him on this defense. He is not so he started actually as a Steeler and then played his last 2 seasons as a Raider. So he doesn't have any personal connections to Mike Vrabel, but he is that kind of bullish linebacker that Vrabel played as, and that Vrabel played as, and that he coached in Tennessee. I mean, tell me about here. There is a Vrabel type of linebacker, and I think it's like a big guy. It's a sturdy guy, and it's a guy who knows how to get after the ball. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's see that and Robert Spillane, honestly.
Is Robert Spillane? Exactly.
Look at his 2 years with Las Vegas and look at his total tackles, dude. I mean,
he was the third. He was third most in He was the third most in tackles.
He went for the ball. He went for the ball.
There's a reason. There's a reason Max Crosby and Raider Nation wanted to keep him. I mean, 158 tackles. He allowed a 111 passer rating, but I mean, 158 tackles, 7 passes defended, 2 picks, a couple of sacks. I mean, 13 total pressures. That guy is nasty.
It says here I'm looking at PFF. It says he had a 1,093 snap count, the 4th most at linebacker. So the guy doesn't leave the field.
No, he does not. I mean, his 2 seasons as a Raider, 17 plays, 17 starts. Notice is a Steeler, 12-7, 14-4, 16-5, double 17s as a Raider. That guy does not leave the field.
How about you, Dustin?
And neither does Harold Landry.
Oh yeah, that's true. But I think he's one of the key pieces that they really needed as far as like going into this run game. I mean, when I'm looking at the tackles and stuff, I mean, yeah, he doesn't have much in pass rush, but he's got the total tackle. He's got quite a few in passes defended. At sacks, I mean, no, he sacked a couple missed tackles. I think that ain't nothing terrible. I did not mean to do that, but I see this guy being the guy that's gonna be a ball hawk. He's gonna be or not a ball hawk. He's gonna be a guy going after ball. He's gonna be the guy that's gonna be watching the quarterback to see if he's gonna hand the ball off or not. If the running back's got the ball, he's gonna be tracking him down and beginning to tackle. If not at the line of scrimmage, maybe a couple yards after. Maybe watching the running back or the slot receiver in like a passing game, somebody getting a quick pass in. If they read that that's what a team's gonna do, he'll be the guy that's gonna be stopping that quick pass. I see this guy as just like a pure baller. I mean, I don't know how else to word it. He's a pure baller. He's gonna be a guy going after the ball wherever it's going. That's where he's gonna be. And I just feel like he's gonna be a guy that's gonna really help in the run game too. For people to think they can still run on us, this man's going to be watching your quarterback. He's going to be watching to see if he hands that ball off, and he sees that ball handed off, going for it. He's going to wherever that running back's going.
Now go to his run D grade again.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, it was 87. Is that 66?
Oh, yeah,
no.
Oh my god,
87. Yeah, I didn't even look at that
87.
either. Yeah. Definitely run defense. I definitely see him being like the
he's a run defender.
I guess
He's a run defender, as is Landry. I mean, that's why Vrabel brought these guys in. He wants to stop the run.
Interestingly enough, the defensive coordinator for the Raiders was Patrick Graham, who was the former Patriots linebackers coach, if I'm not mistaken, in 2014 in the staff.
And can I just throw down the names of some running backs we'll be facing this year? Bijan Robinson, Derrick Henry,
Genty.
Obviously Breece Hall. Who?
Genty.
A Raider. I mean,
Caleb Johnson, Chuba Hubbard.
Where's Caleb Johnson with again? Cleveland?
The Steelers.
Pittsburgh. Okay.
Judkins, if I'm not mistaken, I think we can go up against Tony Pollard.
Achan.
Scatabo.
Yep. Scatabo. Yep.
And hopefully James Cook, unless the contract discussions are not in. Well, let's just move on. But I to be honest, I'm really excited for the Robert Spillane. I didn't do much into him, but even though he's like, he was like 29 years old, so giving like a 3-year deal is actually more reasonable than giving him like a $4 to $5 million deal. So this is a more reasonable contract for Robert Spillane, and considering of how well he performed, and considering that the contract we gave for Spillane, it's not that bad. $11 million per season for a guy who is third most in tackles. That's a huge steal, in my opinion.
Wasn't it like a 3-year deal too?
Yeah.
Or 2-year deal?
3 years, $33 million.
Yeah, definitely a steal, 100%.
And speaking of steals, let's now head over to the rookies. And I gotta say, we deep a little dive into the rookies, and I gotta say, when we looked at Joshua Farmer and Braden Swinson, I felt like, well, Braden Swinson was my guy coming out of the draft. I remember I did a mock draft with you, Andy, and then you, Chris, at one point, and I was huge on Swinson if we didn't get like Jack Sawyer or Kyle Kennard. But what were your thoughts on us getting Brandon Swinson and how he could be utilized to the full potential? And I'll start with you, Andy.
Let's fucking go with Braden Swinson. Look at his last season, his first, those 3 years at Oregon, and then his 2 at LSU. He had 129 tackles on 2024. He 77 to 129. He had 8.5 sacks. 9. Does that say 9 picks? Did he have 9 picks?
You did No, I think he had 9. What was it? 9 missed tackles.
9 missed tackles. 9 missed tackles. But still, yeah, no picks. I think there. But anyway, yeah. Braden Swinson, he came. We got him about 30 or 35 spots behind where a lot of people had him. So that was a defensive talent that was overlooked, just like Christian Gonzalez 2 years ago. Him and Joshua Farmer.
How about you, Dustin?
Dude, I remember watching the highlights of this dude for the 2024 season. This dude scared me for the quarterbacks. This dude, like, just trying to picture myself as a quarterback and him coming and him being on the opposing line, I'd be shaking. Like, this dude, he pushed around anybody he went against. He was a monster. He did not let up a single bit. He was pushing people around. He was going for gaps and 2-man blocks. People just couldn't slow him down. He is mean. He is mean. And I'm excited for it. The one thing I am concerned, though, is I feel like he gets his motor going a little bit too much and he kind of gets tunnel vision from what I'm watching. And he kind of loses where he's going or what he's supposed to be doing. But, I mean, when I think Mike Vrabel will definitely be able to help him out with that and get him, like, keep him on track of his assignment 100%. But, yeah, this dude, if he can unlock his potential with the Patriots here and give him a little bit of time, he probably won't do it this year, but I think next year he can really, really show out. This dude is gonna be a force, and I'm for it, man. This dude. Oh, I'm getting replays in my head of the highlights and stuff. Dude. He's exciting to watch. If you haven't treated yourself to watching a highlight of this man, please do it. Please go on YouTube and look at highlights of this man. You'll see what I'm talking about. You'll understand why.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris?
So, one thing that I've heard about Swinson, I'm not sure, but as far as the draft stock, I remember watching a video, I believe it was on YouTube, where they believe that one of the reasons why he could have fell was that he was being really confrontational with the coaches at LSU. And I believe there were I think they might have been on the record saying that the coaches hated him, quote unquote, hated him. So I'm not really too sure. Hopefully we don't have any personal issues or whatnot with him, but I believe that being coached up by Vrabel could, put his head on right and he can stay in line. Another thing that is, I feel, worth noting is that he went to LSU, so he practiced against Will Campbell. So that kind of,
that's true.
That's true. Sometimes that just slips my mind completely that they went to the same school at the same time.
I never even would have thought about that. I didn't even put that together. I didn't think about that.
Same here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I'm really, they gonna have some built-in chemistry there, I feel like. So yeah, really excited for Swinson. Hopefully he has his head on right. Hopefully he doesn't cause any problems, but we'll see. Hopefully Vrabel can teach him up.
Since you mentioned LSU, Chris, John has a question that it's kind of related to LSU in general, since Swinson went to LSU. I think there's a lot of players that have issue with LSU coaches. How many stories are there of LSU players getting suspended or whatever at LSU? I remember we talk about Booty, about his gambling addiction, and he went to LSU. So I don't know if that is related to anything or the death of Tyron Lacey or whatever. But did you hear any stories of LSU players getting suspended or whatever at LSU, guys?
I don't remember exactly what it was. I mean, I believe Jonathan is what he's saying, that, there does seem to be a lot of issues with players and coaches that are coming out of LSU recently. I don't know. I don't really have too much to add other than...
Yeah, not so much with Jaden Daniels or Will Campbell.
Not even with Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, that's true. But, I mean, we'll see. I just like barely thought about that the other day too. Like, man, they really went to LSU at the same time. Like, nobody even ever mentions that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But let's now move on to another guy, and I'll start. I didn't know about this comment. I was gonna pull up your comment, John, about Joshua Farmer, but he also he mentioned something funny. Tyrann Mathieu was suspended and later kicked off the team for violating team rules. Interesting. The Honey
And
Badger.
Odom Beckham Jr. Yeah, that's true. I do remember that one.
Interesting. And then we all know about the Keyshawn Booty thing. I think I alluded to that in the wide receiver stream. But I want to pull up your comment, John, about Joshua Farmer, because I did not think we would get Joshua Farmer. And I think Joshua Farmer, even though we have enough defensive tackles along with Tonga for like a one cheap deal, I just felt like even though Farmer has a little bit of injury history, I gotta say, but the fact that we have Milton Williams and Christian Farmer, you at least have Joshua Farmer to be like your developmental guy if one of these guys, leaves the team through free agency. So what are your thoughts on Joshua Farmer? I'll start with you, Andy.
I'm sorry, guys. I have not watched the video on these guys that you have. I hardly knew who Josh Farmer was when we drafted him. I had heard of Braden Swinson, but and everybody was saying it's like, okay, who's the steal of the draft everybody is talking about? A guy whom we talked about a couple of weeks ago by the name of Jared Wilson, center out of Georgia. And then everybody started talking about Braden Swinson and Joshua Farmer. I'm like, who's Joshua Farmer? He is this defensive tackle out of scroll down. He's like the second to last guy on the list there, Dow.
Yeah.
Or third to last guy. He is a defensive tackle out of Florida State. And geez, what am I looking at? Column I. Those are total tackles. So he went from 36. His total tackles doubled, like I said earlier. The 6 sacks. This guy is looking at those numbers. He is, he's sturdy. I go back to see if I put in anything for his games started. I don't think I did because there's not much of that for rookies.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything for Joshua Farmer, if I'm not mistaken.
But yeah, his games played 13, 12, so he apparently does often see the field. So yeah, just looking at these numbers, I think he'll be, and like John said earlier, he's going to have some good mentors in Barmore and Milton Williams.
How about you, Dustin?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't know too much about him myself. I hadn't watched any film or anything. I don't really know a whole lot about this guy, if I'm going to be honest. He's probably one of the only guys on the defense, or one of the only few, I should say, that I haven't really looked much into. But, I mean, I will say this. I did just pull up his some things on ESPN about him. This dude is 6'3" at 312 pounds. This dude is massive. The dude is huge. Now, I don't know anything about his combine record. I don't know really how he did at the combine. But if he can develop his skill set and develop off the his 2024 season, or 2023 and 2024, where he did have some good numbers in as far as total tackles and whatnot. I don't think he had too much more than that. Total pressures he also had a good little bit in as well. I'm gonna find his thing again. Yeah, the last 2 years he had 20 pressures in 23 and 26 in 2024. So he did apply some pressure to quarterbacks. And I mean, again, he's a big dude going at the interior on the offensive line. If I don't see him getting too much playing time this year, he might get some rotational times in. But dude's massive. He's a force on that line. I'm curious to see what this guy does. I'm gonna be paying attention to his name through training camp and whatnot, see what he does. see if he shows out or anything.
How about you, Chris?
Really excited about Joshua Farmer. I pulled up a little bit of combine stuff just so we have an idea. He ran a 5.1140. He had 26 bench press. He had 29-inch vertical. So, really explosive athlete. It says here that he had a total score of 69 that was ranked 17th amongst the 2025 defensive tackle class. So, yeah, he's just a young player that we really could use as far as the defensive tackles, because let's keep in mind that whole thing with Barmore and his blood clots. I know everybody's wishing for the best, but we need to have, somebody that we could slide in also for injury purposes.
Oh, yeah, I do also real quick. I do want to point out, thanks for you mentioning that, actually. I did read several articles for like the combine and whatnot. There was a lot of people comparing him to a guy like Christian Barmore, a good guy that can plug up the holes on the O line or D line. My bad, but yeah, I did want to point that out as well. I did read a couple of articles like that.
So it's good, right? Now we got 2 Barmores, right?
Yeah. Oh, this is
potential.
John brings up a really good point. Yeah, he also brings up a good point. So first of all, before I pulled up that again, he mentioned that during OTAs, he had at least 1 sack onto, I don't know who it was to, but he also had some bad passes. So far it's been really impressive at OTAs, but can he translate that with the pads on? That's going to be the question, because he's gonna be interesting as in like a developmental player in Joshua Farmer, but John also mentioned that he was a bright spot on FSU's disappointing 2024 season. He led the Seminoles with 4 sacks and made 32 tackles with 8 tackles for loss. And that earned him 4th team All ACC honors. What are your thoughts on that?
Stud.
Definitely. Yeah, he's definitely going to be that developmental piece. That's really what his role is right now, that backup developmental piece. As far as where we drafted him and what we drafted him for, that's definitely what he seems like. But he keeps impressing like this, like he did at the OTAs. If he shows that come training camp time, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's potential. There is a lot of potential there with this man, and I'm excited to see if he can unlock it with this New England Patriots team.
Interesting. So I know that we're before we get closer to like what the whole gist of like what the starting lineup's going to look like, and then who's going to be like the backup stringers, but there's some depth that we have regarding the linebackers and the edge rushers. So the thing with with Chason, he was the first round pick out of Jacksonville. Obviously, he didn't do much in Jacksonville, but for some reason, lo and behold, Patrick Graham, he unlocked the door for Clavon Chason, even though it was like for a 1-year deal. So what could we see out of Chason? Could he be like a first stringer or a second stringer with the regular offensive line in general? So what are your thoughts, Andy?
I was just chatting back and forth with John. Come again, Dow? Sorry.
Should Clavon Chason, after his impressive season with the Raiders, should he be with the first stringers or the second stringers?
Chason? Jeez. I put him, when push comes to shove, probably a second stringer, seeing as we have Landry. We have Landry, Spillane, and
I got the depth chart pulled up on it's on ESPN. It says that our defense is going to be a 3-4, and in that case, he would be a second stringer. Yeah,
that's what I thought. Yeah.
So We'll see. I'm excited. If I'm not mistaken about Chason, wasn't he like one of the first guys that we went and got as soon as free agency opened up?
I
think it was after Milton, I believe. I think it was after Milton we got him.
So I think it was
no. It was Milton, Carlton, and I believe then the Chason, if I remember it correctly.
So we did kind of get him early on. But it was only a 1-year deal, wasn't it?
So wait, that was the depth chart. Go ahead with the depth chart again. You mentioned Carlton Davis.
No, I did. We're talking about like free agent signings. Like in order of like when they got signed in free agency.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's right. You're good.
Yeah, but with Chason, I know he was not like with the first wave of free agents, but I know he's like with the second wave of free agents. So giving him like a 1-year deal, even though he didn't do much in Jacksonville, if I'm not mistaken, and then for some reason Patrick Graham unlocked the door with the Raiders. So I think John makes a really good point. I hope Chason is able to revive his career with this 1-year deal, and we can resign him. My only thing is, now that we have Swinson and Landry, could this be more like a rotational piece, or is he gonna be like your full-time star? Because I think he's gonna be more of like a rotational guy. I'll start with you, Dustin. Do you think he should be like a rotational guy?
Yeah, to piggyback off that, if you do take a look at like his positions and stuff, you'll see like in 2020 linebacker, 21 right outside linebacker, 22 linebacker, 23 outside linebacker, 24 defensive end. He's played a little bit all over that defensive front. Or at least has the experience all over the defensive front. Granted, a lot of those years in Jacksonville and Jacksonville. I'm sorry, but I mean he definitely could be that more rotational guy that plays a little bit anywhere on the field if maybe he has better experience in one area than the other. But just going off of this, and like the only way he'll definitely even see the field at all is if he's open to being a more rotational piece. If he's not willing to be a rotational piece and part
Yes, they did.
This is unprofessional of me. I am sorry, but he's definitely gonna be more, at least in my eyes, a more rotational piece. Just from
Dustin, do not call yourself. You're not unprofessional. That was called for.
I mean, it was the truth. But
yeah.
I wanted to mention one small detail that I think is worth bringing up. Our offensive line coach is the one that drafted Chason in 2020.
Oh my god!
So that's kind of
say that again.
Yep.
I didn't catch that.
I said our offensive line coach is the one that drafted Chason in 2020.
Doug Marrone drafted Chason.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another tidbit with Chason is he went to the same school as Braden Swinson. Unfortunately, he wasn't there when Swinson was at LSU, but that's interesting. Like, I remember Chason was asked about Braden Swinson if he had made contact with him at LSU, and he said he has never had, and it would be nice to see some like veteran presence since you have 2 LSU Tigers on the defense. So that's a cool tidbit about him.
Yeah, I feel like Marone was probably like, hey, let's give this guy a chance. He was drafted 20th overall.
Interesting. So, even though they're not the next, they didn't revive Saxonville because we all know it was all dead when we ended the Saxonville season.
Yeah.
But let's talk about one more guy. Let's talk about one more guy that has been hyped around, and then we can like take a look at like who is gonna be your like who's gonna make the 53-man roster and who are just like bodies at this point that you could put in a practice squad. So one more guy I really want to talk about is Jack Gibbons. And when I remember everybody in this Discord was hyping up Jack Gibbons for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't do my research on him, but when I look at the stats on Jack Gibbons, he looks really impressive as an undrafted free agent in 2022. Year after year, he looks really more impressive. And that one sack, unfortunately, that one sack was onto Drake May. So That kind of stings, but at the same time, looking at his overall grade, he looks a lot more impressive year after year. So, Andy, what are your thoughts on bringing in Jack Gibbons?
My thoughts on bringing in Jack Gibbons were pretty much my same thoughts on bringing in Robert Spillane. But unlike Spillane, oh gosh, I keep getting these two mixed up. Unlike Spillane, Gibbons actually did play under Vrabel, and like John is saying, he has leadership. He and Spillane both play with leadership, and this defense has lacked leadership,
100%.
for several years. And bringing in your Harold Landry's, your Robert Spillane's, your Jack Gibbons's, that brings leadership back to the defensive front. We've needed it for a while. He had no picks, 44 total tackles, an 88-1 passer rating. His run defense grade was 80. I mean, these are guys that can stop the run. So yeah, pretty much the same thing I said about Spillane earlier. They are both tackle machines. John's absolutely correct. Total tackles 44. And then the year before that, he had 95. Yeah, so you're talking about these guys are, they're good at stopping the pass. They're excellent at stopping the run. And Vrabel was, I believe, one of the best run defensive coaches when he was in Tennessee. He was might have been top 5 at least one year. That'd be something to look up. But John brings up a really good point. Maybe it's just me, but I felt for the last 3 to 4 years we've missed more tackles than we should have. That is 100% right. Way too many missed tackles last year. I mean, it was one of those games. I mean,
I think it was the Jets where we had a really bad game of getting tackles,
the third
tackles.
Was it the first match meetup with the Jets?
Yes, I believe it was.
Oh my God!
I'm trying to think of one of our games that was a near miss. I mean, we couldn't.
We could do.
Did we have? Wasn't it? We had Geno Smith dead to rights, and then he's able to get.
Oh my God! I don't want to hear about those schemes.
Yeah, we were doing so well, and then I was I think going into the fourth quarter, maybe right at the end of the first quarter, we were just letting people get by. They were getting passes through.
And those defensive matchups, we'll get to cornerbacks next week, but I just felt like
the complete misuse of Gonzo last season was disgusting.
Don't even get me started on that. Jesus Christ! Oh my God!
Jesus Christ is right. He was there
exactly.
Too. But but yeah, I mean,
watching him playing so much in the flat zone and whatnot. Was
I know we're Pats fans. I know, Dustin, but we're here to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I know.
Yeah, it's the same thing against the Rams, and we don't know how we felt about it.
Spillane and the Colts. Let's not keep going down that rat hole. But yes, Spillane is very. I hope he can. I'm not going to say we're not Spillane. Gibbons. I hope he can revive his and
I didn't do much
that 98 total that 95 total tackles was under Vrabel. So yeah, let's hope he can revive his Tennessee career under Mike Vrabel.
How about you, Dustin?
Yeah, I think it's just really a Mike Vrabel guy. I mean, he played for Mike Vrabel for those 2 years in 23 and 24, and obviously in 23 he had that 95 tackle year, as Andy had alluded to. He seems like an overall pretty decent linebacker. He brings a leadership, he brings a skill set, he's got the knowledge from Mike Vrabel. He definitely succeeded under Mike Vrabel. He's definitely going to be a guy to watch for. He's definitely going to be that. I think Mike Vrabel will be able to get him back on track. It may not be immediately. I mean, he may there's always a chance of he picking up some sort of bad habit from the previous coaching staff. It's possible. Not saying he did, but it could be possible there was something the coaches taught him that they really shouldn't have taught him. But yeah, I do feel like coming back to Mike Vrabel, I feel like he's going to be a solid piece for this team. Him and Robert Spillane, as y'all have alluded to already, being that possible duo leadership out there in that front seven. I'm definitely excited to see what he brings to this team.
How about you, Chris?
So with Gibbons, I feel like he's just exactly what Vrabel is looking for. He's 26, 6'3", 240. He's a tackling machine. I'm looking at his PFF grade. They have him at an 83.2 overall grade, which is 12th best among linebackers. And but like I said, he's still 26, so he can improve more. I felt like Vrabel was just like, this is a guy that I would want, so we brought him in. Yeah, super excited to see what him and Spillane could do as a pairing. They're going to be all over the field. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got with him. He does have a 80 run defense grade, which is pretty good, and a 75 coverage grade on PFF, which is 13th. So he's a tackling machine, and he's good in coverage. So.
Interesting. The only concern I have with Gibbons, and it's not much of a concern, he did, however, I think it was November 18th. It was confirmed that he was going to be out for the rest of the season because he did have some ankle injury that he had last season. So he may have some. Let me just briefly look at Jack Gibbons' injury history if I can briefly look at it, because I don't think he has that bad of an injury history, but I remember, yeah, he did have a season-ending ankle injury in week 11 of the season. But in spite of that ankle injury, at least he did perform a lot better, even without Mike Vrabel as his head coach, and he had like some offensive, well, I would say offensive guru, because Brian Callahan was not an offensive guru in Cincinnati, so. We could say lately that the defense, even for the Titans, have been really impressive, I gotta say, even though there was lack in talent, excluding Simmons and whatnot. But yeah. Thank you, John. He said it was an ankle, but he basically said that he's feeling really good now. And I love what you also said, dude. That tackles and run defense definitely going to be better this year. Considering that we have the third, even though I'm not going to take this lightly, that we have the third most easiest schedule in the league, I just hope and pray that regardless of how easy the schedule is, the techniques and the way how we play is a lot better regardless of how easy the schedule is. I just got to say that.
I'm going to say about Gibbons too, when he gets on the field, bro, he tackles and he produces. In the game against us, he had 14 total tackles. In the game against the Chargers, he had 15 total tackles. In the game against the Lions, he had 8 total tackles. So, without a doubt, his best trait is tackling.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to do a whole lot better in tackling, because under Covington, the players can't even tackle a lick against any of the players. Even though we're like rebuilding, there was no progression whatsoever. There was lack of progression, lack of leadership when Bentley went down. It was just disappointing. But
there was, if anything, regression. We looked last year like a team that had an anti-rebuild almost, as crazy as that sounds.
It was part 2 of the 2023. It was part 2 of the 2023 season.
Well, wasn't even a sequel. It wasn't even a sequel. It was bad.
Oh my gosh. John makes up another good point besides tackling and defense. Read this. Also, hopefully the penalties go. Oh my. Thank you.
They will. They better. They really should, honestly. With Mike Vrabel and this staff, they better go down. They better go down or somebody's going to get cut. Like, jeez, we should. We really, I mean, the kind of guy Mike Vrabel is, he's not going to tolerate that. At least I would assume he wouldn't tolerate that. And I'm sure the staff that he's brought in that have a history with him, I'm assuming they're probably not going to deal with it either. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to get locked down. I wouldn't be surprised if they're out there in practice every now and again, Vrabel and some of the other staff having a zebra shirts and just like blowing the whistle on penalties.
Yeah, because obviously we were so bad. We were so bad with penalties. There was basically lack of discipline under a rookie head coach who has no idea what he's doing. A young coaching staff that have no idea how to coach up players. I'm sorry to Hightower. I'm sorry to Slater, but there was lack of leadership as the coaching staff. So that was the reason why we led. Well, I wouldn't say leading the league in penalties, but we were that bad. We were so undisciplined. And even though we're going to get into quarterback,
they were just untimely, bro. Untimely penalties. Whenever we would finally do something right is when the penalty flags would come out.
And like Andy just put in the comments too, where he said in the comments the bulk of his penalties coming down on third down. I mean, yeah, it came in crucial points.
Yeah, and that's why we don't score points. Sometimes we don't score points or make these crucial plays, because regardless if you can say the refs suck, it just comes down to discipline. Regardless of if some of the calls are not reasonable, you can't just make these calls, especially with like pass interferences or like personal fouls or whatnot. Wait, let me read this stat from John, and then we can get to the last part of this show, which is who will make the roster and who will not. And that is the Patriots defense in 2024 has committed a total of 24 penalties compared to 42 by the offense. Specifically, they have committed 12 third down penalties. Interesting.
Yeah, 42 on the offense sounds about right.
Particularly on the offensive line, because the offensive line stinked, regardless of how many sacks we allowed. Penalties were also
Vadarian Low, bro. Vadarian Low.
66 total penalties. That makes my brain hurt and my soul dissolve. Like, geez.
I mean,
it better get better. It better get better.
How do you expect to win a game like that? It's just like you take one step forward and you take 2 steps back.
2 steps, more like 5.
Yeah, 5 steps even.
It's
just untimely. We gotta have better football awareness. Is all.
Where'd you find these? Oh, never mind. That was
He was asking Jonathan, but
Jonathan.
He just Googled it
for some reason.
Yeah, I just Google it, but at the same time, now with Mayo being gone, I'm sorry. If we still kept Mayo next year, it would have been a lot worse. We wouldn't have signed these players that we have now compared to what we did. And we wouldn't have the same front office. Like, we wouldn't even bring in Ryan Cowden to at least run the ship instead of Elliott Wolf, because under Elliott Wolf, we were just force-feeding coaches, like, based through his time in Cleveland and Green Bay. Because Mayo basically has no connections whatsoever, with the exception of Covington and whatnot. But I'm going to ask, so now we're getting to the final part where I'm going to ask all of you guys, and including myself, of who will make the 53-man roster, even though it's going to be a tough competition leading up to minicamp and training camp. But I'll start with you, Andy, and then get to Dustin, and then get to Chris, and then I'll get to mine. But Andy, so any of these players you say could make the roster on the defensive line and linebackers?
We can't hear you, Andy.
You're muted.
We can't hear you.
I am muted. Sorry. Thank you, guys. Gibbons, Spillane, Landry. Can you guys enlighten me as to, like, I know I sound stupid here. Can you guys enlighten me as to how many guys will need at each position?
That is going to be so hard, because
Yeah,
I think
can't
that
really-
varies from team to team.
Yeah, it varies.
So
It's-
if
it's
we
more-
have
it's
if we
more
have
so
a three, if we have
varies
a three
on-
four if we have
yeah.
a 3-4 defensive front, I'm gonna go Gibbons, Spillane, Landry, Ellis, Gibbons,
Did you just say Gibbons already?
Gibbons, Spillane, Landry, Ellis, possibly Tavai,
Oh,
Keon White, and Chason.
for the linebackers, right?
Yeah.
And then for defensive tack, and then defensive line.
Actually, no. No. Keon White's a defensive end, so your defensive ends could be Swinson and White.
Yeah.
Your IDL, Barmore, Williams, and Farmer.
Okay, so you're telling me that
Tonga could be a rotational piece on a defensive tackle.
then again, we signed him to like a one-year deal, and we didn't give him any guarantees.
Right.
So he could be like in the practice squad, but he's more of a body end.
And then you got Jeremiah Farms. You could have him. He might actually be a better rotational guy than Tonga.
Yeah, and then Jaquaylin Roy, he's just like some random guy.
Jaquelin Roy is a a guy. He's just a guy, exactly.
Yeah, it's gonna be more of a practice squatter at this point. But how about you, Dustin? Who do you think should make the roster?
Jack Gibbons and Robert Spillane, obviously. I see them being more like the outside linebackers. Ellis and Landry being your interior linebacker guys. With maybe they keep Jelani for a backup, a rotational guy. I'm not sure if he'll make it, but we'll see how he does in camp. Don't know too much about Cam Riley. I didn't look too much into him, so I can't really say for sure. Maybe kept as a backup. Don't really know where. Keon White. Maybe being on the edge of the front. Well, no, it's a 3-4, not 4-3. What am I thinking? As far as the front three, as far as the starters, Barmore, Williams, and probably Jeremiah Farms, and unless Joshua Farmer really impresses and Vrabel is like, put him as a starter. Just put him as a starter. I don't see it happening, but you never know. Well, probably between Jeremiah Farms and Kyrie's Tonga having that role, I can see one of them two being like the nose tackle. That's probably it for me. There's some guys I'm not too sure on, but that's probably as far as position wise and some of the starters. That's probably what I got.
How about you, Chris?
So it's gonna be. What do you guys think about Christian Ellis? Before I start, my bad. He's a starter.
I think he would be a potential starter.
Potential. So him, Spillane, possibly Tavai, Gibbons, Swinson, obviously. Don't know too much about Cam Riley. Apparently, no one knows about Cam Riley.
No one does.
Yeah. I feel like there's somebody else I'm missing.
You want me to scroll down if you could?
Yeah. Let me look at your screen instead. I'm looking at mine. Barmore, Truman Jones. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who he is.
Yeah. Milton Williams. The usual suspects, pretty much. Tonga for the nose tackle.
And is that it?
Farms. You guys see Farms making it? Yeah, huh?
Yeah.
I definitely see him making the team. I just don't see him being a starter right now.
Yeah, I see him more of a rotational guy.
Yeah, I was saying more as a rotational guy, but I see him probably making the roster. He was on the roster last year.
Interesting. For me, I will get for me with who I should think make the roster. You got Gibbons, Spillane, Ellis. I wouldn't. Tavai had that injury, so Tavai is a question mark in my opinion. Harold Landry, Braden Swinson, Keon White, Christian Barmore, Milton Williams, Jeremiah Farms, and Joshua Farmer. And I did not, and we all agree we didn't include Anthony Jennings because he is a no-show. But John makes up a really good point about Anthony Jennings, if you guys want to read about it. He says that in 2024, Jennings set career highs in combined tackles 78 and sacks 2.5. He was tied for the league lead in run stops and ranked highly in average run tackle depth. And he started all 16 games he played in 2024, seeing at least 40 snaps in 14 of them. So he stepped up after he traded for Judon. Interesting. So what are you guys thought on that, even though we didn't include him in the 53-man roster list?
Before we get onto that, this last comment, Gerard, can you give us some insight on why you say he's one of your favorites? Just because, I mean, I'm not trying to diss you on your favorite player. It's just I for me personally, I just don't see. I don't see how he can be anybody's favorite player. I mean, it's your opinion. If this is who you like, I mean, by all means.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't like Tavai, to be honest, just because of he had to step up when all of the players went down. I understand that in 2023. Mm-hmm. But what he did at the end of 2024 kind of pissed off all of his fans.
Yeah, especially me. One of him or
you see my comment, guys? I just put one in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I especially that game against the. He said I like his interceptions, PBUs, and the way he hits. Interesting.
Oh, pass breakups. Okay, pass breakups.
But then Jonathan says he's a decent tackler and a hard hitter, but I don't think he's a very good leader.
And he doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to be that leader. I mean, he got forced into it, yeah, but now that he's got a team around him, he doesn't have to be. He definitely doesn't have to be now. It's just, are we going to really utilize him that much on a team that I feel has a lot of other talent that I think can push him out the door? But that's just me.
How about everybody, since all four of us give us our thoughts on like who should make the 53-man roster, how about you, John and Gerard, since you're in the chat, what are your thoughts on who should make the 53-man roster? And we can read out your thoughts. But I could just say, even though we can wait for them, I think some team will pick up Tavai. Do you know which team? Excluding Detroit, since Detroit really screwed up Tavai. So
my first thought immediately was Carolina for some reason.
Carolina's another disaster. But Detroit under Matt Patricia was god awful because he was with Patricia for some reason. He was a Patricia so he was somewhat of a Belichick guy because he was with Patricia. How many guys should I pick to make the team? Just a reasonable amount, man. Like
just pick your starters, I guess. As far as like
pick out your starters.
As far as like the defensive ends and linebackers, just pick those guys out. We're just doing a front seven for this stream, anyways. So you ain't gotta do a whole. I'd say just the starters, just do the. I wouldn't say big names, but like impactful players. Because it's a 3-4 defensive scheme. So you're 3 on the line, and then you're 4 linebackers. So probably like those 7. Your 7 start. Your 2 outside, your 2 inside linebackers, and then your front 3 on the line. Granted, we're not always going to be having just the front 3. Obviously, one of those outside linebackers is going to be.
That's about right.
Yeah, some of these could be like scheme based. I don't know what Terrell Williams is going to cook up with since he hasn't been in Gillette Stadium for like.
I will say, I do hope we still keep going as far as like dime package or was it dime that the strong safety is in the box, if I'm remembering correctly? It's dime or nickel. I want to say it's dime, where like they have the strong safety in the box instead of a linebacker. Because I do feel like we have some guys as far as like our strong safeties, maybe even a couple free safeties possibly that can fill that role.
Yeah. I just hope
is there any way I'm sorry, guys. Is there any way we can speed up?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It is getting pretty. It's like we're already almost 2 hours in.
Yeah, I just hope that we can end the stream, but just randomly play you guys, and then we could call it, But you could. How is the thing? Here's the thing. You can also type it at the end of the stream in the comments, so I can read them, and then I can read your reply. Simple as that, so that we don't have to like stress out or anything. So we don't have to like stress out anything. You could just
I also at times like after the videos, I like the next day I look at the comments, see if there's anything of note, maybe something I missed, or even sometimes I read comments to see how I did as far as like the live stream.
So Gerard and John, you can all type in your players at the end of the comments. As I want to thank you two for being. Oh, so he actually brought in his thing. So I think. Okay, so he said that
Robert Spillane, Jack Gibbons, Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, Joshua Farmer, Harold Landry, Keon White, and Braden Swinson. Oh, so Braden Swinson is a starter in his first year?
Interesting. Because
okay. I said Braden Swinson, didn't I?
I was hyping up Braden.
That is my list right there. Spillane, Gibbons, Williams, Barmore, Farmer, Landry, White, Swinson. That's my list.
I don't even remember you saying Swinson, but yeah, I mean,
I did. I'm pretty sure I said Swinson.
It would definitely be interesting.
I'm almost certain I said Swinson.
You might have it. I just didn't catch it at that time. It's definitely more catchable reading it in text than hearing someone's voice at times.
Yeah,
my headset likes to cut out at times. Doesn't want to pick up the audio that well.
Interesting, but hey guys, thank you as always for joining us in today's live stream. Thank you, Chris, as always, Wicked Chris, for like taking over for Austin for today. You've been a really impactful person in the Patriots panel, as I randomly call up the group. But thank you as always, Andy and Dustin, for taking some of your time. And as always, make sure that you like this stream. So that if you really enjoyed it, please make sure to subscribe to this channel because it's completely free, help supports the channel.
Turn on that noti bell.
Yes, please. I know.
So you don't forget. And here's a challenge for all of you guys in the chat. If you can successfully get to 100 subscribers, I will expand this channel from just Patriots Talk to all Boston sports. If you can please do so, because if we hit 100 subs, I will expand this channel.
That's a nice little goal.
Please do so.
Any sort of time frame you want to do, or you just want to say like once you hit 100 subscribers?
Once we hit 100 subscribers. So there's no time frame. Just okay. As long as we hit 100 subscribers. But
that's fair. That's fair.
But thank you guys as always. We will see you back for the live stream on cornerbacks and safeties. And as always, go Pats.
Go Pats.
Go Pats.
Peace.